This is the technical breakdown for the dialogue tool system that I have created. So starting with the third person character, which is the one that you play with, these here are all all the movement and stuff, none of that needs really looking at, it's all very generic. Most of it is just built into the game. So I'll start here with the interact. So E is clicked. This is basically like a debug key. This can be anything. Right now it's just E because E is typically interact. Goes for a for each loop, and it gets the actor is checking if you're overlapping with the NPC box here, the collision box. If so, it then will display the NPC interact user widget, which we'll go over in a bit, and then it will activate the dialogue. This is a simple dialogue. This one here, the blueprint, is just a function. That's all that I needed it for. And then it also looks for active quests, the array, which we'll go over in a bit. The quest reference log, this is when I begin, what quests I have. It will check and it will update the log and add it to my viewport. That is active log here, which we'll go over later. Accept quest, so when the player accepts a quest, it then adds the name and the description into the quest here at the top and to here. That's the wrong thing. It breaks it down, it adds it also to the array, and it updates everything located for that. I'll discuss more of that in a bit. When the quest is complete, it checks is it completed. If so, it marks it as complete, and then it also, when this is updated, it will remove from the array. Whichever quest it is, it will remove it from the array, checking all of the names. Going over to the NPC, which is the main thing that you're interacting with here. Start with this here. This is setting the camera and the cone to the relative place that it needs to be. So this is basically the camera is located here, so it's on an angle so you can see the interaction. The cone, this is where the player is going to stand. Inside the game, you cannot see this cone. It's just as a reference point for where the player will stand. So if I was to walk over, look this way, for example, and stand here, interact, it moves the camera and the player to the desired location based off its location and rotation. Then to the event graph. On begin play, it gets the dialogue for this NPC needed that you have set. It checks which is set, and it will also see if it needs to tick the question mark. I'll discuss that part right now. The question mark and exclamation mark above, once again, you cannot see it when you're playing unless you have spoken to them. Essentially, if it is someone you've not spoken to, it will display the player or the NPC like this. If you have already spoken to the NPC, it will display them like this. And the press E here, this only appears once you have collided with that box. So right now you see it's not there. If I walk over, it appears. If I leave, it disappears. Very simple. Back over to here. That was event begin play. Now interact. When it is overlapped, if the button is when it's overlapped, it sets the text render to now be when it's overlapped, it sets the text render to be appeared. When he leaves overlap, it then stops it from appearing. That is what I just showed you with the text appearing and not appearing. These here are different options that the user can use to have the player how they want the NPC to be interacted with. So this is just player adjustments. Whenever you do interact, it adds the cursor to the game so that you can choose the desired dialogue option. So right now it is on screen flash and it teleports the camera. Just to show it off really quick, you'll see that's what that looks like. Breaking this down, adds the screen flash to the viewport. This is a very simple image, which is just a black image which fits the whole screen. and it plays the fade in and out animation when it's on, and it's not in the game for long at all. If you see the duration, it's really just 0.2 seconds for it to do everything. I think 0.4 in total then. So here, it's getting the camera and moving the camera. This is getting the player and moving it to the cone, which I showed was here. And it's changing its rotation here, and that's what that one is. The next one is, oh, I forgot to mention, it disables the character movement because you can't move whilst you're in a while you're talking. If I was to interact, try move, nothing happens there. So the next one is teleport character and the screen flash. So this time you will see the camera visibly move to its location, which is about here-ish, whereas the player will instantly teleport. That's what that looks like. And it's essentially just flipping these around and changing the delay for that. But it's very similar, it's just flipping these around. Then the final one is move the player and camera at the same time, and there is no flash this time, just to show you what this looks like. Plug that in there, compile, save. Interact with him, and there'll be no screen flash. You'll see me walk into position and the camera goes to position. And that's what that looks like. And this is getting the camera, moving the player. This is this right here, which I've made. Using the cone again, setting everything. And that's this 3 done. Event begin chat. Whenever you begin talking, I did not mean to open that yet. Whenever you begin talking, it gets the information of that NPC, and when it will display it on, I just opened this one, it will display it here. When you end chat, it does the black flash again. For example, if I just go over to this one, click. This is just a pre-made one that I did for the test video. If I was to click goodbye, you'll see the black flash happen again. This one removes everything from there. Gives me, this is setting the camera to not be this one, but instead be the actual player camera. It's getting the actor, and then it's also removing the mouse off of the screen again. Next, up here, accepting a quest. So this is what happens when a quest is attached to a character, well, an NPC. This is changing the exclamation mark and the question mark, these two which I discussed earlier. It's moving everything. I'm just checking time. I'm at 8 minutes, okay. Checking everything, accepting the quest, and then it ticks this boolean and the quest reference here, which is the quest info, which I'll go over. Quest complete, very similar. It just ticks, is that NPC, is their quest completed? And it updates this with the correct material. Because after this, you can also go off into like a reward system if you did desire. Interact, this is when you interact, it adjusts everything needed. It's hiding that text in game, this text here. Is a quest active? If the quest is active, it will go through that one. There's a delay, begin chat. So if a quest is active, that's when it displays. Select it on him really quickly. In the quest reference, it will display, not that one, this one at the bottom. This is accepted, this is in hand, this is completed, so active would be this one. Is that it for him? That is. Location BP, this is the location of where the goal is, so right now it's just set to here. When it overlaps, it gets the target, it checks the array for whichever name has that one linked with, and then it just makes it ticked, basically. It makes the quest be completed. This enum here is the drop-down boxes used to decide what each one goes to. And if I was to, I didn't know me to do that. That's this enum, black screen pop-up we've discussed. NPC chat, this is here, this structure. This is what everything looks like. These are all of the variables. and that's all of these here that you can customize. Quest info, structure, the variables, that is the bottom ones here for the quest reference. This is where you can give the quest a name and a description and a reference, which the reference is the floor right now. The reference is actually meant to be this. There we go. Then into quest log, this is where all of the quests and that you currently have on you in the arrays are located. Your current quest that you're doing, quest name, quest description here, which you can change here. Then the NPC dialog, you can change this however you want, but it's very basic right now. The NPC, that can be changed to whatever you want that NPC to be called. This is the text here, and these 4 buttons here are the responses. There is quite a lot here, so I'm going to try to do this quickly. So starting with button 1, which is obviously response 1 here, the very top one. So if that's pressed, if the message is message 1, then, and that is determining off of, so right now it's message 1, it's message 3. If I make that message 1, then that would be true. I'd follow this. It would then do the action required, and the action required is, so if this is clicked, right now it's set to message 3. So right now, if this is clicked, it would then do message 3, which would go to message 3. Going to message 3 is over here. We'll go to that in a minute. But this is basically setting each of these 4, because I can have up to 4 different ones with player responses. It can have each one of these be one of these. So if I wanted to be quest or goodbye, we'll go over that, but it's just making each one that you click go to the corresponding correct thing. So if it's a quest, it goes to quest, goodbye goes to goodbye. And that is for button 1, 2, 3, and 4, because you can change all of them. Up here, this is starting the conversation, and you always begin with message 1. So go to message 1. So say if I clicked button 2, and button 2 took me to message, I was on message 2 of button 2, and button 2 took me to question 1, it would then do this, and that would take me up here. And this is just checking here, is the quest completed, is the quest finished, is the quest accepted, because that will determine if they tell us any of this information here. If none of that, it will go through this, and it will enable all of these responses going from this switch. It sets each one there, and if it's visible, because going back over to this guy, the first one that he has, if you see, he speaks, but there are no responses, because right now they're all set to be invisible, or just not visible to begin with. Then if I click, I've only got 3, but if I click where am I, he speaks, there's now 4. It's because I'm making them visible. Whereas if I went back to, I want to say hello, they're now invisible again. That is what this is doing here. And that is repeated for each message, because you can have 4 messages. If the drop down is set to a quest, then it accepts the quest, it gets the reference for the name and the description, and it ends the chat instantly. Ending the conversation, that was just called back there, and it was called back into, I think, the NPC here. Quest message. This is when you accept a quest, it gets all of the relative data it needs. This is only when the on message button was clicked, on quest button was clicked. It will disable the responses, because same as the first one, if it's a quest, there'll be no responses. Quest hand in, this is if you have the quest active but you have not completed it, it will do this one. If you have completed the quest entirely, it will do this one. And once again, how I explained before, you can alter this as well to give a reward like XP or gold or an item. And that is everything.